Hi there. So I'd like to take the time and build the part that was part of assignment one, or assignment two rather, and this is the first part. So what I'm going to do is kind of show you a couple techniques of the way I would go ahead and build this part. And the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to create my origin here, and I'm going to locate, as a matter of fact, this circle and these other circles. And then I'm going to put the, I guess you would call the lines that form the plate around those. So let me go ahead and do that. So I have a new part started. I'm going to create a sketch on the front plane. There's my origin. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to create my circle up here, and I'm going to go ahead and create my 2 dimensions. So I'll use my Smart Dimension tool. So from the circle over to the origin, I'm going to make that 75, and from the circle to the origin again, this is going to be 30. All right, so that gives me essentially the shape of my circle, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to make this the hole right now, so I'm going to put my diameter here being 12.5. So let me put that in there as well. And let me zoom in here a little bit, and let me just move my dimensions around so that I can kind of see what I'm doing. All right, so I got my hole here, and another thing that I'm going to do now is I'm going to create a center line, and I'm going to make it so it's right above the origin here, and I'll just click here and drag over. Now, it doesn't have a constraint here above the origin. It didn't catch, or it's not going to try to put that in automatically. So I'm going to select this point. I'm going to hold my control key down, and I'll make those vertical to each other. All right, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to drop down 3 circles here. But first let me dimension this. So, oh, didn't catch it right. All right, but let me first put at least the vertical dimension on this. So I'll go to my Smart Dimension tool and go to my points here and make that 10. And now I'm going to put my 3 circles on here. So just clicking on the line and just dropping. And make sure that you don't accidentally select the midpoint here, because you don't want it on the midpoint of the line. So just make sure you don't accidentally do this. And I'm not actually going to go all the way to the end, because I want to be able to utilize this for creating the upper circle. So let me go ahead and do that. Again, I'm going to use a center line, and I'm going to come up a certain distance and put my other circle here. All right, so let me go ahead, and what I'm going to do is, I don't want to shrink the property manager down. All right, so I'm going to use Escape to get out of the Dimension tool. Notice this last circle that I chose is still highlighted, so I'm going to hold my Control key down and just click on the other 3 circles, because these all have the same diameter. So I'll let go of my Control key, I'll come over here and make them equal to each other. And then the diameter is 6 millimeters, so I'll just put that in as 6 millimeters. Now the height here above that center line is 18, so we'll go ahead and we'll put that dimension in. And then the distance between the center of this hole and the center of this hole is going to be 3 millimeters, right? So let me go ahead and just click that circle and zoom in here a little bit, and I'll click on that circle. Now it wants to put these dimensions in here. If I did this, it would be aligned. If I pull over to the left, it would be 18. I don't need that. And if I pull up this way, it's going to give me that vertical dimension, or the horizontal dimension rather. So I'll select that, and I'll make that one 3. All right, so now I just need to put in these additional dimensions, so 10, 22, and 22. So I'll select here to the point. Actually, I'm out of my Smart Dimension tool, so select here and to this point again. I'll make that 10, and from the circle to the circle next to it, we'll make that 22, not 200, 22. and then lastly this one and this one, and make that 22. And I notice it's going to move the top circle along with it. Now, one thing for you to note is that my sketch is fully defined now. And that's something that I would like you to do habitually, is to make sure that whenever you're editing a sketch and you put in, a decent amount of parts, or I like to do it every time to make sure I'm fully defined. All right, so what are we going to do now? Well, we have this point defined, and this line goes up 15, and this line goes out 65. So let's put those on. And again, I can do this utilizing my line tool, and I can hover over. Notice that both of these, I'm not going to get either full constraints. This is horizontal, but it's not going to give me that exact constraint. I would have to put it on. Same thing up here. So I'm just going to go up here and click anyway. And actually, let me do something before I do that. Let me drag this 75 down here and bring that over, so they're not actually in our way in terms of seeing where these lines are going. And where's this one? I'm going to bring the 30 millimeter dimension over here, just so you can see where I'm putting these lines in. So I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to hover over the top point here, I'm going to come down to this location and come across to that location. So you'll see that it put in the horizontal dimension here, and it did actually put in my vertical dimension. So let me put those dimensions in. I'm going to drag these up just a little bit so we can again see what we're doing. You don't need to do this when you're actually making your part, but I find it helpful when I'm making videos. So we're going to make a smart dimension here, and this has to be 65. So we'll put that one in, and this one has to be 15 millimeters tall. So I'll go ahead and put that one in. Okay, so now to finish this drawing, essentially, is, remember this is 12.5, so I made that the circle. But now I should put in the other circle. Do I put it in as an arc, or do I put it in as a circle? But the reason why I'm going to put it in as a circle is that I have the center point of the circle right here, so I might as well use it. And I have to put it, the circle has to have a radius of 12, so I'll put it in with a diameter of 24. So let me come in here, I'll click on my circle icon. Notice I want to get that center point of this circle. And I'll, again, utilize my Smart Dimension tool. I'll select it, and notice that I could put in 24, but I can also type 2 times 12 and utilize that box as a calculator. Either way works. All right, so now let's just finish it off. There's just 2 additional lines. So I'm going to select from this point here, and I'm going to, it'd be helpful if I had the line tool turned on. So I'll select from this point here, come up to the circle, and it'd be nice if I can get that tangency constraint. You see where it's showing up now? But here it's not. So you have to move it around a little bit, and maybe you'll get the tangency constraint, which is what I want. And when I say that is what I want, I know I shouldn't have to put a dimension here, and it should be black. Let me take this line off again. So I'm going to select it and delete it. And I'm going to put it on one more time, but I'm not going to worry about that tangency constraint. All right, so now the line is blue, which means that it's not fully defined. And you'd see what the deal is over here. So if that happened to you, what you would just do is you would select the line, hold down your control key, select the circle, and make it tangent. All right, now I'll do the exact same thing from this point here. So where's my line? So we'll zoom in here a little bit, and I'll select my line. Well, select my endpoint of my line, drag it out, and again try to, right? There we go. You can see that I have the dimension, the tangency constraint. All right, and now let me just zoom, let me give you the full window here, and let's move out some of these dimensions so we can actually see what we're doing. Again, you don't have to clean it up. I'm doing it for your, so you can kind of see what's going on and seeing that we and get a feel for that we have the part made correctly. And where's my 18? Put that there. All right. Now, again, we are not trying to draw a recreation of that sketch. We're trying to make a part. So at this stage, I've completed all my geometry. You might say, the one part of you is going to say you should trim this out to make it look exactly like the part, but I don't need to. I have all my geometry, and what does that mean? So I can go to my Features tab, select Extrude. It rotates into an isometric view, but it doesn't automatically extrude anything because it doesn't know what you want. But you'll notice that the Selected Contours box is highlighted baby blue. So what happens as you hover over here, you're given all these ability to extrude whatever you want. Well, I want to extrude that and this. I think the default was 10 millimeters, so I'll go ahead and do that. And there's the creation of the part. All right, so hopefully that helps. And now, of course, there's 100 different ways to do this. This is not the only way to make this part, but there's one way. So once you get this part built and you're happy with it, I know it hurts, but just get rid of the part and rebuild it and try a different way until you get comfortable using different methodologies for creating the same part.